Hello, good morning. Welcome, bonjour, and miigwech. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today at the Women Leaders, a Sustainable Future event and award ceremony. So before we get started, my name is Andrea Zapp, and I'm a business counselor with PARO going on 6 lovely years. I also own Aquatic Sensors for the last 17 years, which is my own business where I help my clients solve water quality issues with my environmental clean tech technology. I am also thrilled to be representing PARO, Center for Women's Enterprise, and Spark Center, and emceeing today's event. It is going to be so amazing. So thank you all for coming. Let's get this started. I would like to take a moment to recognize the land. PARO's headquarters are in Thunder Bay, which are the traditional lands of Fort William First Nation. PARO works across the province on many traditional Indigenous lands and is committed towards reconciliation. I recognize and live on Anishinaabe Treaty 3 here in Kenora, and today I want to acknowledge and honor the land we gather on together. Regardless of where you are in the province or the world, as I realize you're from all over, let's take a moment to honor the First Nation, Indigenous, and Métis people and the sacred land of Ontario. Thank you. All right, so throughout the day, we are going to have a couple of polls to keep you all engaged. And we want to know today, the first poll, we're going to bring it up. There's no wrong answer. And the polls help PARO to better understand the services to women like you so we can help you better. So our first question of the day is what you would do to most likely reduce your carbon footprint. So I think Melissa is going to bring up a poll. And no wrong answer. Just check whichever one resonates with you the most. And while we are doing this, there is a chat on the side. If you haven't seen this already, please put where you are, where you're from, your name, say hello. And all right, so we've got the poll coming in. Rank what you would most likely do to reduce your carbon footprint. So people are going to cut their shower time by 2 minutes. I, for one, could probably do that. Shop consignment clothing. Who doesn't love to shop consignment clothing? Awesome. Are they still coming in? Still coming in? Wonderful. All right. So we've got a few of these polls coming at you today because we want to know more about where you're at and what you do. Purchase plastic-free products. Love it. Yeah, a lot of us want to do that. Lovely. All right. So while the poll is still coming in, awesome. So moving on, I would love to welcome our PARO's fearless founder and CEO, Rosalind Lockyer, who will share with you today the details about the event and everything we have planned for you today. So please help me welcome, with your virtual claps, Rosalind Lockyer.
Good morning. So happy to see you all here today. I know people are coming in as we're talking here, and I see that people are coming from all over the province. Isn't that so inspiring? I want to welcome you all to our inaugural Women's Leaders, a Sustainable Futures event. And thanks to Sherry Coburn, our partner at Spark Center. This was a dream of ours from a few months ago, and look, it's happening now. Also, thanks to TD Bank for being the presenting and keynote sponsor. Thanks to all our sponsors and funders. Your support is crucial, and we sincerely thank you. We built this event today on what you told us you needed. We did a survey in early 2022, and the results of that survey are published on our website at paro.ca. It's called Sheet Covery for Women's Enterprise. So go there under News and Media and check it out when you get a moment. And we'll use this guide to prioritize our activities and programs, working with our partners throughout the province so that we can move forward and support your needs. So thanks for taking the time to fill out that survey. And thanks to Denisha and Melissa and Kathleen for working with me on all this. Now, a little while ago, we said, well, we're going to have an event. We need to have an event to bring together women leaders, and we need to talk about a sustainable future. The time is now. And we said, well, who are we going to have as a guest speaker? And we said, imagine having Dr. Jane Goodall as our keynote speaker. Well, we imagined, and we did, and we invited her, and guess what? We are so happy she said yes. So we're so honored today to hear from this great, renowned woman leader. We hope that her wisdom will be a catalyst to the over 350 women who are registered for this event today. I know they'll be coming in and out, but you'll have all these women to network with. And we have women from all walks of life. Most of them are entrepreneurs, but some of them are supporting women entrepreneurs. And they are the women leaders. They're the women leaders in our businesses, our family, and our communities. And they're going to be working together to build whatever sustainable future there will be. And I don't think we can do it without women leaders. I strongly, strongly believe that a sustainable future is not possible without the strong leadership of women in all spheres of life. And why do I feel that? Because we know to create a sustainable future, it says we need to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Now, who cares more than anyone that this happens? Women leaders, leaders in their home, in their business, communities, and for their country. Every day is a beautiful day at PARO, but this is going to be a great day. I'm going to just review a few things that are happening. We're going to start with a sustainable panel discussion hosted by our partner Spark Center and sponsored by Google, followed by a message and ceremony with a strong Indigenous woman leader and elder, Beatrice Twansine. Excuse me. And after that, a good networking time. I better take a sip. Time to visit the various tables of our wonderful World Event Center. I hope you enjoy it today and get to move around all the tables and talk to all the women congregated here today. We'll have a few networking breaks, so take this time to move around the tables and meet as many women as possible. Then on to our keynote. We will hear from Dr. Jane Goodall, and we'll have some time to ask some questions to her team. After that, we get time to go to our kitchen and bring our lunch back and to get in some more networking. And then we'll hear from guest speakers, leaders who support our work and women entrepreneurs, followed by two panels. The first will identify growth opportunities for sustainable business. The second one will talk about navigating the right funding mix for women in business. Now, I'd like to take a short minute to talk about a new tool to help you in your journey of building your business. And it is a new portal, My PARO Path, launched today. You're the first ones to know, and go see it. This will be your path, your journey to getting to the funding, to accessing PARO Go Forth online, PARO Business 101, to joining a circle, getting grants, and other important ways to build a sustainable business. So exciting. And thanks to Melissa, Kezia, and Kylie for all your work on this. It is world changing. Believe me, it's beautiful. Then on to the PARO Awards ceremony, time for joy and fun. We'll take a wellness break during the awards ceremony to relax and have a short painting party with Crystal Marriott. And if you ordered paint kits, have them ready to go before the awards start. Then onto our awards, such a special time to recognize women for their contribution to a sustainable economy. Always a time of joy for me and a wonderful way to end the day. But throughout the day, I want you to keep something in mind as we're enjoying all the wonderful women gathered here today. Remember that sustainability has 3 pillars: the economy, the society, and the environment. These principles are informally described as the 3 Ps. And you've heard this: profit, people, and planet. It's easier to remember, I think. Well, PARO is a social enterprise, and we as proud PARO women, hashtag proud PARO women, we have spent over 27 years, long before it was trendy, trying to make small changes and trying to lead the way with women in Ontario, starting in Northern Ontario, but now we work all over the province. And we've been working to help promote the Sustainable Development Goals, which were adopted by UN in 2015, you'll remember. And what was the mission? To end poverty, to protect the planet, and to ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. Now, I want to take a minute to remember the people of Ukraine and all the wonderful women leaders there. And I would say, given our world the way it is, people and society and the economy, we need to work together. Let that be our mission, that by 2030, all people will enjoy peace and prosperity. Let that be the mission of women leaders for a sustainable future. Women leaders here today, can you see that we have our work cut out for us? But onward we go, doing our small part or our large part, whatever we can do every day to promote this mission. It will not happen without each of us doing our part. Now have a great day. Let's get started. So I guess we now are waiting for Andrea to come back and take over. Oh, it's Sherry. Hi, Sherry. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm coming in from sunny Prince Edward County.
Isn't that nice? And it's sunny in Thunder Bay too today.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, I think Sherry's going to take over here. Sherry is, I just want to introduce her. She is the CEO for Spark Center. So Sherry Colburn, please take it away.
Thank you, Andrea. So good morning, ladies, and any brave gentlemen who are joining us for this very special event today. As Andrea said, my name is Sherry Colburn. I am the president and CEO of Spark Center. Spark Center is a regional innovation center that provides world-class support services, and I'm thrilled to say co-working space now that we're back in biz, to early stage tech and innovation startups in Durham region and Northumberland County. We also act as a gateway for global tech entrepreneurs who wish to relocate their businesses to Eastern Ontario. On behalf of Spark Center, I am thrilled to welcome you to PARO's 2022 Women Leaders, a Sustainable Future event and award ceremony. Sustainability is more than just a buzzword, and it doesn't end with the protection of the environment. Sustainability is about social equity and economic development. It's about our planet, our people, and our profits. Adopting and advocating for sustainable practices, large and small, can make a huge impact on our environment, society, and economy. The incredible women you will meet today, including world-renowned animal rights activist, ethologist, and environmentalist Dr. Jane Goodall, are not only leaders in this, but also influencers who inspire us to do better and be better within our organizations. As the Eastern Ontario chapter of Startup Grind, Spark Center is excited for you to meet some of these powerhouses leading the way towards a sustainable future for this special edition of Startup Grind. Lilly Miller with Planet Mark, Valerie Mandri Rohen with Zamia Media, and Nuha Siddiqui with Erthos. Spark Center hosts Startup Grind on the last Thursday of every month. Our events feature inspiring entrepreneurs, industry experts, and startups who share their career journeys, entrepreneurial insight, and thought leadership. Our special guests at Startup Grind motivate our entrepreneurial community to keep striving for our business goals and inspire us to be a force for change. Our panel of leaders in sustainability at this morning's Startup Grind and throughout the day are among some of our greatest forces for change. Please enjoy today's event. And with that, I will hand it back over to you, Andrea.
And Spark Center. So now we'll be kicking off the first panel discussion of the day. Any housekeeping? You've all seen the chat box and you've seen the emojis. If you want to engage, that would be wonderful. Thumbs up, smiles. So now we're going to pass it over to Sonya Shorey, who is the Vice President, Strategy, Marketing, and Communications with Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards. And we'll hand it over to Sonya to moderate the first panel of the day.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I am Sonya Shorey, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be joining you today on behalf of Invest Ottawa, lead economic development agency for Canada's capital. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which Invest Ottawa is based is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We are very grateful to have the opportunity to be present in this territory and to come together with you as a provincial, national, and global community. Further, I want to respect and affirm the inherent treaty rights of all Indigenous peoples across this land. We recognize the contribution of Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples have and continue to make, both in shaping and strengthening this community and our country as a whole. I am incredibly honored to join you today for topics that I'm incredibly passionate about. And I think Roz and Sherry, we could not ask for greater leaders and role models in terms of those who are truly driving change and equipping and enabling women leaders for success. That focus on profit, people, planet, and of course, peace, which is something we are incredibly passionate about. Invest Ottawa shares the goals, and we are honored to be a member of the Eastern Ontario Innovation Corridor and a key collaborator for Spark Center. I join you today as someone who is incredibly passionate about women leaders, in particular, women founders who are driving change. We had a very bumpy start in terms of how we support women at Invest Ottawa. When I joined 5 years back, there were very few programs and women did not feel that they had a home or could find a sense of belonging at Invest Ottawa. We built a strategic plan, and this was at one of the key parts, one of the key pillars upon which we based the development of our 5-year strategic plan. We assembled a subcommittee of our board. We built a strategy and an action plan with metrics, and we report on those metrics every single International Women's Week, which we have just concluded over this past March. And it is dedicated to bringing members of our community together to explore how we can propel women founders and entrepreneurs like those that I will welcome in a moment, having the greatest potential impact on our economy, on our society, and our community. Today, we're focusing on women who are driving critical change to help create a more sustainable future and world. It's very timely as we've just celebrated Earth Day on April 22nd. There's an increasing focus on net zero goals, a wave of promising innovation in R&D in Canada and around the world, growing advocacy, dialogue, and investment. But a key challenge, how do we translate these goals into meaningful action and impact? As leaders, we are going to be bringing together today women who are championing sustainability goals in different and very impactful ways. And we're going to be looking to leverage their experience to help motivate you and inspire you in your journey. We know that the pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on women. The pandemic has also been a watershed moment with respect to the potential for clean technologies and innovations around the globe to change our world for the better. It's driving so much change. And today I'm honored to welcome 3 key leaders who will come to our stage and share their inspiration and actionable insight with you. Please join me in welcoming Lilly Miller, Chief Financial Officer of Planet Mark, coming to us from the UK. And Valerie Mandri Rohen, founder and CEO of Zamia Media, and Nuha Siddiqui, co-founder and CEO of Erthos. We look forward to joining these leaders today and unpacking their entrepreneurial journey, including key opportunities, challenges, and lessons learned that they've experienced, how they're translating their passion for sustainability goals into meaningful business, action, and impact, and why this leadership is so critical to our economy, society, and environment at this juncture and to future generations. Welcome, Lilly, Anna, and Nuha. I'm delighted to be with you. As we open today's discussion, I would love to have each of you introduce yourselves, your organization, and share one of the most defining moments of your career or your leadership journey to date. Lilly, you're in the upper right quadrant of my screen. Let's begin with you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be joining you all. As Sonya said, my name is Lilly Miller. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of a company called the Planet Mark. As you may hear, we're predominantly based in London, but we're an international sustainability and net zero certification. The Planet Mark, it really has a 3-step process. That's about measurement of a company's impacts, engaging and unlocking the passion within the company's team and their staff, and really bringing people on board and getting everybody as part of their sustainability journey. And then companies communicating what they're doing with confidence and integrity, because they know that's sitting on really strong data and plans. And the Planet Mark is a sign of continuous improvement in sustainability. So companies that hold the Planet Mark need to reduce year on year. Myself, as I said, I'm CFO. I'm actually an accountant, and I don't have a sustainability background. And I think that's probably what's made me who I am today, because I kind of started off working in quite a harsh corporate environment, very male dominated. I used to have panic attacks at the train station because I used to be so pressured. And I remember the way I used to work and live. Probably wasn't very healthy for me as a person, but it gave me brilliant exposure in my early career, and loads and loads of experience with transferable skills, which has kind of led me to where I am today. Defining moment, I've picked quite a personal one, because something that really, I think, changed the course of my career was when I was pregnant with my first child, and my boss at the time said to me, pointing at my stomach, "That is a professional disaster." And that has stuck with me every single day since. And I think that, that's what made me leave that profession. When I didn't go back after maternity leave, perhaps I would have done. It really gave me that drive to say, you watch me, you watch me succeed. Actually, I can make this work. So yeah, that definitely changed me as a person.
You've just given me chills. I truly have chills, and I am so thrilled that you continued your courageous journey. I'm also grateful you've made me feel very at home in this panel. I am also not a sustainability expert. I have 25 years in tech, which is also very male dominated. So I have similar stories and experiences, particularly in my younger years. Thank you for being so open and transparent, and for joining us today, Lilly. Anna, welcome. It was wonderful to get to know you leading up to today's panel. We would love to hear from you.
Hi, and thank you for having me here. My name is Anna Mandri. As you can probably tell, because of my accent, I am Mexican. And I've lived in Canada for almost 3 years now, where I co-founded Zamia. And Zamia is a social business that aims to support NGOs and basically purpose-driven organizations worldwide to increase their impact. And we do this by breaking some of the rules and beliefs that NGOs work with and what we believe they are holding them back, and by giving them tools and building capacity so that they can grow and thrive. And thinking about one key moment in my life, which certainly changed where I am today, is I didn't study any environmental at the beginning. In the early stage of my career, I was finishing my bachelor's degree in marketing, and I did this finance ending. So I have this marketing and finance background, and I turned down a really good offer to enter a multinational company. And for some people, for my teachers, for most of my friends, that was a very, let's say, not very clever decision, but for me, it makes sense. And instead of going to that corporation, I went straight to work for an environmental NGO. And that decision changed all my life, basically. Who I marry, where I live, everything I've done so far. So I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't know what will happen if I have taken that alternative, but I'm certainly that that decision really shaped my life and has given me meaning to my life and a purpose that I really cannot express in words. So yeah, I think that will be one of the moments that have shaped my career.
We are so grateful you chose Canada. We need more strong women. We are looking to grow them from within our ecosystem, attract them from around the world, collaborate with them from every corner of the planet. And I love the fact that you followed your heart, that you're searching for that passion and meaning. And one of the threads that I see with Invest Ottawa, which supports many women founders now after years of investment, long way to go, is that we see that they are all driven to support that passion for finding vision and meaning and opportunity to achieve an impact. In fact, a majority of our women founders in Ottawa that we're supporting actually support one of the UN sustainability goals in their business. And that's a wonderful segue, of course, to Nuha, who I had the pleasure of meeting during the F Factor event hosted for International Women's Week. Nuha, you joined us as one of our amazing panelists. We would love to hear from you.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here, and I loved hearing both your stories. I think that there's so many similarities in a lot of what we've gone through in the sustainability space. I'm Nuha. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Erthos, and we're an early stage technology company based in Canada that's building better materials to help solve our world's plastic crisis. So we're creating powered materials that are a one-for-one replacement for traditional plastics. And we're aiming to actually create materials that are fully compatible with existing infrastructure, as well as being compostable at their end of life. So I started this company back when I was still a student at the University of Toronto. Now we've scaled and grown our team to a team of 22. We manufacture here in Canada, and we're launching our first commercial product next month or in a couple weeks. So it's exciting. I think a defining moment for me was definitely actually a kind of a hybrid of both of your stories. So I did go to school for accounting. Obviously didn't end up doing that. And actually I also was planning on joining, a real accounting firm right out of graduation. And I decided, I was at Cross graduating to decide to whether, go full-time and become an accountant as I was planning to, or to become a CEO and a co-founder of a company that I had very little knowledge about, but I wanted to build out and I was very passionate about. So very, very glad that I did that, of course, because that's what really built Erthos and brought us to where we are today. But that was probably one of the most defining moments for me.
What an incredible story, and certainly the inspiration and actionable insight that you all will share, I hope will inspire many of the women who are joining us today to continue charging forward on their entrepreneurial goals, or perhaps consider pursuing entrepreneurship as each of you have in different ways. I'm truly inspired by what you've shared with us, and you're clearly all very, very passionate about sustainability. Could you each describe perhaps what your vision is for a more sustainable world? If you looked forward 10 to 15 years, what changes would you see? Lilly, I'm going to invite you to join me first.
do you know, the first thing that comes to my mind, which probably isn't the most polished, is less greed. But perhaps that's my kind of personal feelings coming right through. Definitely less greed, more equality. I mean, gosh, you think of, well, what's the dream? From a business's point of view and an entrepreneurial point of view, you know, for all companies to be on a net zero journey, or certainly, you know, to radically reduce their carbon emissions. But perhaps to go one step further, you know, net zero is about us doing less bad. What we actually need to do is do good, and we need to be talking about regeneration. We're so far behind where we should be. Of course, we should all be net zero, but really, we should be doing good, not less bad.
Could not agree more. Less greed, more quality. A fantastic part of that vision. Anna, tell us a little bit about your vision for a sustainable world.
So I think for me, I can see a world where we can clearly see and understand the connections between what we do and the impact we have. So, and actually to have alternatives, to have better choices. So right now, and maybe this is just my story, but when you start a sustainability journey, it might feel overwhelmed. So you can start with consuming less, or repairing, or reusing, or having a B Corp as a business. But then if you dip a little bit, if you go deeper, then you realize your money is in a bank that is being used to support fossil fuels, mining, weapons. So, and it's very hard even to know that, because it's part of this investment mix. So there's not really this clarity. There's not really this transparency. So when I think about sustainability in the future, I see a world with more transparency. So in my vision, a sustainable world starts with this, with transparency, and then with choices, with, okay, what are the alternative choices? And actually, if you see those impacts, choosing a non-sustainable option won't really be an option anymore. So yeah, I think that's the way I imagine a sustainable future.
I love that we eliminate anything that is not sustainable, and therefore the only choice that you have is to be sustainable, because that is the norm. That's a beautiful.
But the only way of doing it is if there's transparency, like if you really know what are your impact in everything.
That opportunity to have measures, to be able to see the data and to understand the progress you're making, so that you know you're actually achieving growth. Incredible vision. Thank you so much. Nuha, your entire company is based on creating a more sustainable future. What does that future look like for you?
Yeah, agreed. I think it's really about trying to make sustainability just a way of life, and not a niche or a nice to have. And it's truly embedded in just the way that we live. And so I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do at Erthos, is that, you know, we're not trying to eliminate industries. We're just trying to shift to a more sustainable future. And I think it does come to Lily's point around being more net positive, thinking beyond just being net zero, and it's always going to be continuous improvement. I think even just, 50 years from now, we're going to have other sustainability challenges that we're always going to have to address. So understanding that we all have to always want to solve sustainability in a way that's long-term and not just a short-term solution or a niche product, or just because it sounds good. And, it would be great to be on a panel in the next 10 years and not even have to point out that we're a sustainable panel and everyone's sustainable. So that's ultimately the goal.
I'm so encouraged by the visions that you've shared, and I hope that everyone who joins us today will be a part and help to lead the world in driving forward and realizing that vision, because it is one that will benefit our entire world. It's interesting to me as I listen to each of you, you had many choices in your career journey. You're all brilliant, talented women that have the ability to lead in many different spheres. Where does your passion for sustainability stem from? Where do you think that's come from, and why did you make those choices? I'm going to open up the floor. Anyone who would like to jump in?
I feel bad going first again, so I'm going to hand over to one of you lovely ladies.
I can jump in. So just thinking about where it starts. I've always been curious. I've always been a very curious person. Since I was a kid, I ask about everything. I probably drove my teachers and my parents crazy. So where things came from, where things go, why I have some privilege, why I didn't have some privilege. So always asking. And because of the family I grew up and because of the school I was in, I was also, I had the opportunity to volunteer in many things like building schools, restoring forests, cleaning rivers. So that experience made me aware more of the privilege that I had than the privilege that I was missing. So I focus on, oh, okay, so my reality is really good compared to. And again, being curious, I asked myself why. And later in my life, I remember reading a book called Radical Simplicity by Jim Merkel. If you haven't read it, I completely recommend it too. And the book starts by asking you to imagine that you are the first in a buffet, right? And in front of you, there's everything. Like there's food, there's water, there's shelter, there's education, there's healthcare, there's everything. And you're about to take everything. And then you look back and you see that there's 7 billion people behind you. And then there's the wildlife. And then there are the people that are yet to be born. And you have to ask yourself, how much do I take? And for me, that was an aha moment. It was like, okay, so the privilege that I had, they're not just because of, they're truly because of luck. Like you are born in this part of the line, yes. And sure, there's some hard work. I'm sure my parents have worked hard to move us forward. But it's also that I've taken what I'm not supposed to take. So things that I have taken are things that I've taken for granted that I should be living for, because it's a finite world. So when you realize that, I think there's no turning back. Like you start your journey by changing small things and big things, and then you never go back. So for me, that's it.
We promised you a day of inspiration, and truly this panel is delivering. That is an absolutely beautiful story. And I saw someone say goosebumps in the chat, and it's absolutely true. Thank you for sharing that with us, Anna. Lily.
Hey, I've actually, you see me, I'm just noting these amazing things down because I know I'll come off this call. Oh God, that was amazing. The buffet thing, I mean, wow. I think there's a piece around sustainability is this word, right? People say, oh, sustainability. Actually, it's just us. It's human. It's nature. It's looking after our planet. It's at the core of who humans are. We are part of nature. So should it even be, and in the future, will sustainability even be a thing? It should just be a way, right? It's just life. It's not a thing over in the corner. Something I thought about for the past question was actually something about accountability, which is probably one of my major frustrations when people go, oh, someone else will solve that. You know, technology will sort that out, though, won't it? Or, so hopefully someone will fix that over in the corner. Actually, everybody taking accountability, as Anna said, it, understanding your place in nature. And for me, that wasn't really, I said, it wasn't my background. It wasn't, a conscious decision early on in my career. I've definitely been surrounded by people growing up who don't share my values, and I actually still find that quite difficult because they can be quite selfish and quite someone else will fix that. But when I don't know, just over the years, as I've been surrounded by people within this company and in sustainability, it's contagious. And it feels good. Doing good feels good. It's the right thing to do. It's human. It just, we strip all of that stuff back about, what society's taught us and profit and greed, and we're just human beings. So I think it's just at the core of us. You've just got to kind of find it.
Doing what's right for the planet, for people, for society. And this is leadership, the accountability element that you just spoke to. This is why each of you are leaders within your spheres and within our current society. And I'm so grateful that you are driving forward on such big, bold, audacious goals. Nuha, where does your passion stem from? You've walked away from a career in the financial sector and chose this path.
Yeah, so I guess what I didn't mention in my intro is that I was supposed to go to school for accounting. I secretly did a lot that wasn't accounting in school, of course. So it's funny because, you know, I think it really just starts from educating yourself, and you do have to start with that curiosity. And we're very fortunate, of course, to be able to learn and self-educate ourselves on so many different topics and industries. You can literally learn about something and become a subject matter expert without any background experience. And so I think that's where it really started for me. I joined a social enterprise club, and back then I had no idea what a social enterprise was. I often thought that that just meant a charity or an NGO. I didn't really think that, you know, I could really bring together that business and that business world, an impact world. And so it really started there, and just understanding, you know, what a social enterprise was, how you could actually build a profitable business that also was driven by planet and people. And then I decided to actually take environmental economics courses in my university, and try to understand, you know, the complex challenges that existed between businesses and the environmental impact that we were making. And so I started off a variety of different projects. Erthos was actually probably my 4th or 5th attempt at trying to solve a really big problem, as probably most start with. And it really just stuck with me, the challenge with plastics, and the fact that, you know, every single person, no matter where you're from, no matter what country you're in, what your income status is, what your background is, every single person has touched, consumed, or disposed of. And so I think just starting off with that and understanding, okay, so if this is such a big challenge, then why? And why is it not working? And really committing to the fact that you and that challenge. And so it started there for me, and started small, started with a research project, and ended up becoming my everything now. So I think just encouraging everyone to self-educate. There's so many resources out there for you to really learn about sustainability and the challenges that exist.
Your story is fascinating, and it's one that I hear in so many different parts of our entrepreneurship ecosystem. And in fact, you've all spoken to it. You've taken gifts that you've been given, privilege, education, different attributes and talents, and you're channeling them, you're harnessing them and pooling them to target very specific goals that will add such tremendous impact to our world and inspire future generations, some of whom I know are joining us today. So thank you for taking that leadership step. Today, we know there are many bold changes that will be required to meet net zero goals, that there's many different issues and challenges we face as communities, as countries, and as a planet. What are some of the biggest challenges that you think we need to address to start achieving those goals? And then the flip question is going to be, what are some of the big ideas that your organizations or your teams are pursuing, perhaps to address those or other big, bold, audacious sustainability goals? Let's start with challenges. Who'd like to jump in? What's needed to get those net zero goals achieved? You've all spoken to incredible visions.
As we've all got a semi-finance / accountancy background, so hopefully the panel will agree with this. I think there's a shift. There's obviously a huge importance in the world on financial data. There needs to be a shift for really good, solid social and environmental data. And businesses and people need to value that in the same way that they value their financial data. And that's when you shift from the profit to the entire picture. And actually it shouldn't be a trade-off, because if you do the people on the planet right, the profit flows out, right? We all want to buy from sustainable brands. We all want to do good. So really understanding a business understanding their own impacts, so people understanding their own impacts is absolutely key. And solid, robust data and measurement is at the core of any net zero program. We can't just, in the same way we wouldn't just make decisions without knowing our financial data, we can't just think, oh, that do a bit of good there, do a bit of good there. How can you measure success if you don't know where you started? How can you reward people? How can you set KPIs for your staff? You have to have something to build upon. So you have to have a baseline. And for me, I say to people, you know, wake up. They go, we're doing amazing things, and they are. So many people are doing amazing things. But if you haven't got the data, how can you communicate that? How can you be sure? How can you? So for me, it's just, for me, it seems obvious. And that's why accountants, it's so vital. Like we've got that information. We all have that information.
I could not agree more. And the accountability theme that we just discussed, of course, if you don't have data, what gets measured gets done. And you can only demonstrate progress and actually determine what's achieving true impact if you do that measurement. Brilliant insight. Would anyone else like to speak to challenges or what it's going to take to transition to net zero before we dive into how you're pursuing bold goals? Nuha.
I can touch on yeah, just high level there around how there's a really great book on net positive and just how businesses are shifting to becoming more net positive by Paul Pullman. Encourage everyone to read that one. But there are two concepts that he mentions as well. One is around a systems shift, and then it's a leadership change or leadership shift. So I think Lilly, around like the systems shift, that we all have to just start being more responsible as businesses, and then it'll automatically start attracting employees to want to work for more responsible businesses, and that creates a massive shift. But it ultimately does start with the leaders and making sure that we're encouraging this next generation of leadership that values sustainability and values traits that maybe weren't, you know, as common for when you think of a very successful business leader. And so it's really making sure that that's encouraged and celebrated, and it becomes the standard for any leader in the space or in general. So that's one I would definitely say.
Redefining the concept of leadership, having more role models such as yourselves. It's so evident to me when we look at the challenges we face as a society. We need more women in authority positions, decision-making positions of economic power, so that we can truly drive together in a collaborative way. And I love the fact that Spark Center and PARO were brilliant in how they put this panel together. We've got voices from around the world, very different backgrounds, but also beautiful threads that tie you all together. What type of big, audacious goals are you pursuing in your organizations or perhaps in your communities of interest outside of your professional worlds that are really starting to drive that change? Is there anything that you would like to highlight?
I can answer that. Well, what we've done is we believe in game changers. So I've talked about having these alternatives to make better choices. And we need people that like Nuha, who is creating a new company, and we need all these game changers who are committed to create alternatives. And we need to support those game changers. So we need to give them whatever they need, capacity building, funding, and we need millions of people. We need leaders everywhere in every sectors to be aligned, businesses, NGO, governments. So one of the ideas we're working on is, it's not a new idea because it's kind of an accelerator program for purpose-driven organizations. But we are working to create a program where we can truly empower them to make the changes they need, because this sustainability path is something that we're not going to be doing alone. We need to encourage more people to do.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Again, inspiration coming to you right directly from this panel. Other big, bold ideas. Lilly.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I have the privilege of being able to see all the businesses that we work with, hundreds and hundreds of businesses. They've made this switch. Many of them were doing things before, don't get me wrong, but they've made this commitment and they've taken the plunge. Change is scary. Right, so people stick to what they've always done because it's safe and that's how they've always done it. But the thing that I think is just magical is that we can have loads of amazing sustainable businesses that are like Nuha's that are focused on sustainability and really driving change. But at the end of the day, the world is still going to need toilet roll. And, you know, just productionize, we are still going to need things. And embedding sustainability into a business, it puts purpose at the heart of any business. So you don't need to be a charity. Actually, you could be in a manufacturing business that's making really good decisions, doing something right, engaging its employees. Then people aren't just going to work and doing a job, right? They're doing something that makes them feel good, as well as doing their job, which is brilliant and perfect, necessary. But it's that sense of purpose and bringing people together and merging their own personal values in with their work and removing these divides of, I go 9 to 5, I go and I make some profit, and then I go home and I love my kids and my husband, and I want to, you know, of course I want best for the planet. So it's people don't miss that opportunity for the magic that you can bring into any organization by just putting purpose at the heart of it and sustainability at the heart of your decisions.
I love this, building the foundation of your business on your core values and guiding principles that can have exponential change across many different supply chains, communities, customers, partners. It's incredible. And I completely agree with you. Every single business can choose to do this. We do have a question. I am watching the questions as your moderator coming through the chat. We have a question from Leslie. How can we start measuring our carbon footprint as business owners? So just because we were just chatting about that, Lilly, take it away.
It's like Lilly tries now not to do her sales pitch for the Planet Mark, and I won't because it's corny, but there are lots of ways you can measure your carbon footprint. Even if you Googled it, you'd find loads. I think something to note, there's lots of free tools, first of all, especially when you look at personal, individual carbon footprints. If you're going to do something for your company and you're going to make claims off the back of it and make financial decisions off the back of it, I mean, it would be sensible to use people that really, you know, are qualified and know what they're doing. I mean, why wouldn't you? So that's important. I think it's really important to note that just because a company has a carbon footprint, not all carbon footprints are created equally. You have to look at what's been measured. So without boring the entire audience, there's, you know, we split a carbon footprint out into scopes 1, 2, and 3. Scopes 1 and 2 are fairly easy to measure, and that's around, you know, your consumption and your energy and electricity and natural gas. When you start getting into scope 3, which can amount to sometimes about 90% of a business's carbon footprint, it's huge. That's when you're drilling down more into, you know, into supply chain and into fleet and travel and all of these things. So it's really important that if you see a carbon footprint, or if you're going to measure, you think, what do we measure? What's our real business impact? Because you could see, you know, someone could sit at home in their office, have a really low electricity and you know, and gas bill, but be shipping things through their supply chain all over the world, and they've got a huge. So just question what you see and where your impacts are and what to measure. And if you're going to do, let's say, make financial decisions and go net zero, you've got to have something that's robust.
I love the intentionality that you're bringing to this conversation, and you can bring that lens through every single action that you take within your business and almost create a checklist or criteria set so that you're guiding your decisions. And as those questions arise as a leadership team, you're actually taking into account the criteria that will help you to achieve the kind of impact financially, socially, and environmentally that you're seeking. And that's a beautiful segue actually into the triple bottom line. So I am a very passionate advocate that every business can achieve that triple bottom line across all 3 of those spheres: economic, social, and environment. You are each doing that in different ways. Can you describe for me some of the advantages to help inspire our audience, the advantages of that triple bottom line, how it's helping you as a business to fulfill your passion and to help achieve a really big impact on your customers and our world?
I think Lilly mentioned it. When you work in a company or in any organization that has a purpose, you attract people that are also looking for that purpose. And when you work in a company or in a charity or in any purpose-driven organization, then you're building a more resilient, a more productive company. So you end up seeing more profit. And then you end up being more happy. And being our work something we spend at least 8 hours a day, for many of us, we spend even way more than that, has to be something that fulfills our life. So it's not something you just do to later be happy. It has to be part of your happiness journey. So I think Lilly said it before, it's about, if you have these 3-pillar organization, you will attract people that shares those values, and you will be happier.
So I heard personal fulfillment. My sister always talks about chasing joy, which is amazing. Profitability, customer attraction, and talent attraction and retention.
And resilient. Like COVID shows we need to be resilient. And when you are in this type of organization, you become way more resilient to any crisis you might face.
I love that.
There's something about the, sorry, Nuha, once I start talking, I can't stop. There's something about the title. What really struck me working in sustainability is when you bring people together, they've got that shared purpose, the collaboration between people, and because you're working towards a goal which actually gets you here. People have got my back. We are very tight in terms of a team, and I don't think that's exclusive to Planet Mark. I think that's just when you're doing something you deeply care about. There's a definite switch in productivity from your staff, retention of your staff, because you're invested in more than your salary or your company car or your benefit. You're invested in something that matters to you.
Brilliant. And talent attraction, retention, and development is certainly one of the key challenges we hear about on a very consistent basis. I know Spark Center as well. It's very difficult in a global mobile talent economy, and finding that one differentiator that will help to keep your top talent invested in your vision, your mission, your business, your customers makes all the difference. And truly, I think it's one of the greatest differentiators you can achieve.
Great.
Nuha, any thoughts on the triple bottom line benefits you're seeing?
I think that's the core of our business, and maybe speaking more to just our customers and our stakeholders and our partners, we've really tried to make it very clear around the fact that that is what value we bring to the table, is the fact that we are capturing from our planet, from our people, from the profit. And so I think, typically it is challenging at first because you're very passionate about, building a sustainable company, but you do face realities of, okay, this actually has to be functional. It has to be really great for performance for our customers. Like, we need to make sure to balance that. And so I think we've embedded that into the way that we even build our products, and ensuring that everyone who's working on a new product at our company understands that, yes, sustainability is one aspect of it, but we have to balance it with making sure it's functional and making sure it's actually going to scale in this business. So I think it's really getting to the point where you understand that balance between the three and understanding how it creates greater value. And ultimately that becomes your superpower, because not everyone is doing that. And then it gives you that competitive edge to allow the brand you're selling to also speak to that story. So finding a way to collectively make that impact and be able to use that as your superpower.
I love the superpower concept, and you're almost making your customers a part of your success story and that big picture vision, and giving them something positive that they can build upon in their own business. It's almost that exponential impact, a virtuous cycle of giving back. It's incredible. I'd like to spend a little bit of time on some of the challenges that you've each faced as women leaders. At Invest Ottawa, a big part of our strategy is dedicated to helping women founders overcome common hurdles, including investment. Only 2% of VC investment on this planet goes to solo women founders, completely unacceptable. Women typically have a harder time breaking into networks that are exclusively dominated by men. Women typically struggle in tech. There's a very, very low percentage, and something we are driving hard to change. And of course, you are all leaders in different spheres of sustainability, businesses and industries. What type of challenges have you faced as women, and how have you overcome them in your leadership journey? Please help to inspire the next generation. If we don't have these open conversations, it's a struggle for all those coming up behind you to find their way forward.
conscious of how much I'm speaking, dominating. Does anyone else want to go first?
I can touch on fundraising, I guess, if that would be helpful. So we are a venture-backed company. So we've gone through, traditional financing rounds and started off very early with, no real technology validation. So we went out and raised money. And so I think that was definitely a big challenge initially. We were recent grads and we had no track record of businesses that we for, and we were going after VC money that was traditionally put into businesses that weren't putting sustainability at the forefront. So there was challenge after challenge after challenge in trying to make sure that, we were really bringing on partners who saw the vision that we did. We had no network as well. And so I think we started off with a lot of no's and, not really thinking that we could raise any money, and we didn't really know how else to prove out what we wanted to build. But it took a lot of time in actually crafting how we were actually telling the story. And I would say that for every sustainable business out there, it's really important to first talk about the problem that you're solving. That's a real business opportunity first. The fact that sustainable business is a given, but really changing the way that you're actually communicating that vision that you have, and the fact that this is going to be a way of life and it's going to be a big part of every life. And so that was one thing that we changed early on, is just how we were actually communicating the business and communicating the vision. And then the next thing is, take the no's, but then always ask, no, but why? Like, what can I show you? What can I tell you about what we can do to help you feel more comfortable about this? And then go and prove it out and come back. And then they have no reason to say no to you again. And so definitely make sure that, you take the no's lightly and take them as a way to learn from it. And don't think that you can't raise money and you can't go out and build what you want to build just because you may not have the network, or you think that you're a sustainable company that can't be venture backed. There's demand out there. There's real problems that you're solving, and you just have to go out.
I'm so inspired by your story, and certainly the investment challenge is one that we focus on extensively at Invest Ottawa. We launched She Boot, which is dedicated to helping women founders just like you help to actually get investment ready and hopefully accelerate that process and bring those connections to bear. And Lilly, when you opened up today by chatting about the professional disaster, as I believe it to you, I'm thinking about Joanna Griffiths, the founder of Nix, who actually was raising 9 months pregnant and has an incredibly successful scaling company here in Canada. So I'm incredibly inspired by women who break through all of those barriers. I'd love to hear another challenge that perhaps you faced, Lilly, in your journey and how you've overcome it.
Yeah, of course. Firstly, Nuha is so inspiring. I'm in awe of you with the funding and that fight. And I've no but why I think is actually amazing, because we're always going to get no's. It probably links to some of my challenges. I mean, gosh, there's been many. There aren't there, when you're trying to grow a business. When I joined Planet Mark 9 years ago, there were 5 of us. So we've had all that startup, all those startup things around cash flow and staff and you name it. I can check it off. One of my personal challenges, I think particularly when you are purpose driven and you're doing something you truly believe in, you burn out. So not absolutely killing myself in trying to grow this business and increase our impact. It's much harder to have boundaries and an off switch when your life is kind of merged and you've got that purpose. So for me, I'm still trying to get that balance. And I burnt myself out last year. I kind of tell anybody, because then I can try and get them to stop them doing it. And then also, as the business grows, I mean, we're now at 62, I think, last count, 63 as of Tuesday. As the business grows, it's letting go for me, which has been really hard, because I don't know, stepping back, getting a really good team underneath me, people I can trust, but just realizing that I'm one person, I can't solve and fix everything. Believing in myself, when you say no but why, actually that's amazing. There's always that little bit, and maybe is is it more that women suffer from this, or is it just more that women talk about it? But that imposter syndrome thing, am I good enough? Can I do this? That voice, I've battled with that for forever. So yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, I don't ever want anybody to look at a panel like us, and it's so inspiring, the people that we're here with. But don't ever look and think, God, they've got it sussed, because actually we're all just trying our best, and no one is more able than anybody else. So just go for it, really.
It's truly a learning journey, and the themes that you're all speaking to are so common for so many of us. And I think the community that this event brings together allows us to share in that and to create transparency, as we were speaking about earlier, to learn from each other and not feel alone and help each other along in those challenges. So thank you so much for sharing. Anna, would you like to share with us a challenge that you've been working on overcoming, or that you have overcome in your journey?
So I can think of many, but one is in the non-for-profit world, we have many women. We are many women working, but there's men-dominated boards. And there's this tendency of thinking that because you are doing a charity or a non-for-profit work, you shouldn't be earning money. It's like, no, you should be doing it for free. You have your husband that will provide for you. You should do this for free. And I've never believed that. This is a path, this is my work, and this is the value of my work. If you don't like it, you can fire me. But if you want me, this is how much I cost. And that's very scary for people to listen. And of course, that has closed me many, many doors, but it has opened me the right ones. So just feel like being confident of saying what I do has a value. It doesn't, why should be okay for a guy selling, drinking sodas and probably poisoning the world to be earning a lot of money, and for a woman who's fighting to put water, healthy water to drink in Africa, should be doing it for free? Why that doesn't make sense in your head, but for some reason it does. So just fight back. Your work has a value, and you need to make sure people value it. So for me, I think that has been a challenge, but that has never held me back. I'm still fighting.
I'm so inspired. Pursue the right doors, pursue the right champions, the right business models, the right customers. And I have to say, the governance issue that you've just raised, boards of directors, again, we all need to come together to help more women to identify and really encourage and demand the change that is needed with respect to the governance structures for every type of company. And I also feel compelled to say that there are many incredible male champions and allies who lift up women leaders. Certainly, I have found this throughout my entire career. I'm so fortunate and blessed and privileged. And we really thank all of those men who are helping us to drive the change and give women those opportunities to shine and to create the change that they do and are changing. As we conclude, we have about 4 minutes left. I'd love to hear from each of you. And I see Brenda's got a great question. It's not a thing, it's a way. That's very compelling. It's very overwhelming to think about where to begin. What kinds of changes can we make as individuals? What would you advise we'd be thinking about if we want to get started and follow in your footsteps as role models?
So tricky.
Oh, I know.
For me, it's to start by being curious. Again, it's by asking yourself, what can you do better? Because this sustainability journey is a very personal journey. So one person can decide not to have meat 2 days in a week, and the other one can decide to go vegan. The same in a company. You can put yourself some goals, and they are completely different from other company goals. So it's a journey, and there's always room for improvement. So you don't have to wait to have it perfect to start. Sometimes we compare with others and we say, oh, we will never be able to do that. But if you start, just start. Don't be afraid of starting your journey. And this will lead you to the right people, the right alliances. You will get inspired by others. You will inspire others as well. So just go for it and start your journey. It's a very personal journey, whether you're a company or a person or anything.
Think big, bold, and just get started. As Nike says, just do it. Amazing. Amazing.
Absolutely. I think there's a piece of business has always traditionally been about competition. And when it comes to sustainability or just the way, doing the right thing, we've all got a shared goal there, and we've got the same end goal, and we don't actually need to work in silos to solve these problems. I mean, speak to people, ask for help. There's communities, there's, you know, there's companies out there, there's people out there. You know, the chances are, if you're facing a problem as a business, that someone else has probably also faced that. So learn from each other. I think we can collaborate and still do great business, and that's really key. Share the knowledge. You don't have to have all the answers to start, you know, taking action.
I love the idea of finding networks, communities of interest, those who share your passion, even if it's not a business concept, where you feel that fellowship. I think fellowship is very, very powerful, and could not agree more about collaboration. Nuha, I'm going to give you the final word today for our panel.
Oh, no.
What can we do?
I realize that. So I think, you know, I would say think as big as you can, for sure. Like, I think being ambitious and setting out incredible plans, you know, when you first start becoming curious and learning about what you want to really solve is really important. But then don't let that intimidate you to start small. Like, I think we always are looking at sustainability and seeing these the problem, and then we want to solve them, but then it can feel like you can't really solve them and you feel intimidated by it. But if we let that happen to us when we started, we wouldn't be here today. And we started off with a very small packaging prototype in a lab, and we thought that could change the world. And it was very small at that time, but we knew that it was just one step we were taking towards the bigger picture. So always have that bigger picture in mind, but don't be afraid to start as small as just changing one thing every day, and you'll start seeing that shift. So I think that's what I'll end with.
I love that. Do you know what? It looks like we have 15 more minutes. It's the gift that we just got back. I actually thought we were concluding at 10:15. So I'm going to dive into another really passionate topic for me. The pandemic, we know it's had a very disproportionate impact on women. It's had a very big impact on our world, on our healthcare systems. There's been so many challenges that the pandemic has exposed and shone a spotlight on. Very, very interesting reports coming out. And certainly one that I found in the lead up to today was from the International Institute on Sustainable Development, and it was published with Deutsche Bank. And it spoke to how resilience is essential, that around the globe, there's been a serious lack of planning and preparation for the pandemic. On one hand, we've seen how governments, the private sector, and citizens on the ground can mobilize very quickly around that one shared goal, as we certainly did if we look at, for example, vaccinations and other pandemic measures, but that there was a lot of what they called last-minute scrambling that wasn't effective and it wasn't sustainable. That it's important to create systems that help us to anticipate that risk and cope with the effects of a crisis in more effective ways, and to adapt the way we're living, the way we're doing business, and the way we're driving forward as a society. And of course, that COVID has magnified inequality, which you've all spoken to. What types of pandemic impacts have you each seen within your sectors or your spheres of influence? It could be the communities you reside in. We're coming together today from very different geographic regions. So there'll be that lens, but also the sector-based lens. Could you each describe perhaps a couple of pandemic impacts that you've seen and how maybe it's shifted your own mindset or perhaps a part of your company in its direction? Lily, I see that smile. I know you've got lots of ideas.
It's because I looked at Anna, I'm like, go on.
I know. See, I'm getting to know each of you. It's brilliant. And I can tell you've got something.
Like, don't speak too much, Lily. So just grab it on. I think it's amazing the pandemic, for all of the awful things that, you know, that brought and that it was. We are problem solvers. We can react, we can solve problems, you know, we can do amazing things as human beings when we, you know, when the fire's put underneath us and we really need to. So that, I mean, in a way it's kind of harrowing, because you think we can actually solve the huge problems that this world is facing if everybody got behind it in the way that they did with COVID. So yeah, we can do really difficult things. where I am in London and for our business, we actually grew during COVID. So I feel awful saying that. I had our bank manager calling me saying, "Oh my gosh, are you guys okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're doing great," but I can't. I feel absolutely terrible even saying that out loud. I think people became more aware of the natural world and environment. Certainly, I'm sure it was the same thing around where you guys, people were out walking in the fields and exploring nature and thinking, my God, what is life all about? And spending all this time with my kids. And a lot of people woke up and they're questioning their work-life balance, and they want to be able to stay at home and work a few days at home so they can have dinner with their children when they finish work. And so there's a definite shift there. One piece, I think I was thinking about it from a question that you had earlier, Sonya, and it was around, I think it was around change and what do you think we could really do? Something for me during COVID, my business obviously took off, my husband's business completely stopped. And we've completely switched our lives around because I was working 3 days a week and now I'm full-time plus. And he actually gave up his work for me to be able to do my work. And that's a really big... I'm incredibly lucky, firstly, that he was able to do that. He was willing to do that. But I think we actually need to look back at men and what is acceptable of men. And would a man in his role be comfortable saying, "I'd like part-time working, please," so that he can allow his partner or the mother of his children, and you can balance your life out? Because a lot of the time that is put on the woman. We part-time work. And it's not acceptable. I mean, that would be career suicide for a lot of men. So what is every business out there doing, and what message are they sending to the men? Because if we can start changing that and the biases around who is responsible for childcare and part-time work, think of the talent pool we open up. It's just incredible. And if I didn't have that support, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So we're held up by the people around us, aren't we?
I think we need to author a book. Just right here now, all of this inspiration, I could truly publish with you all a book, a masterclass. And I mean, I'm seeing the comments. I hope you are as well. You are inspiring so many people. It's a complete mindset shift and a culture change that we definitely need to see. And the more women leaders who pursue goals, just like all of you are, in your sphere of influence, you don't have to be a CEO. You don't have to be a C-suite. You can have change and affect change in any position, in any role, in any part of your life. I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired. Other pandemic impacts and how it's influenced the way you think or your business. Nuha, I can tell, I see that look in your eye.
Yeah, I think we were also very early pre-pandemic, so we were just setting things up for ourselves. We had just started building out our factories and our facilities, so we had to go through all of this during the pandemic, which is of course not easy for a big company and not easy for a small company either. But it really taught us a lot about just the way we wanted to operate as a company and how we had to be resilient even as an early stage company because of these factors. And so it really shifted the way we were thinking about our sourcing, our supply chain, where we wanted to operate in the world, what type of team members we really needed to bring on board. So it did really shift the way we were thinking about just our plans and our operating plans. But I think for us in our sector specifically, obviously plastics, the consumption of plastics went up significantly during the pandemic, and it was because we're dependent on it. And I think everyone started recognizing that, we're so dependent on plastics for so many reasons. And there's really no way that we can get rid of it. So how can we come up with more sustainable options? And so that's what really is driving a lot of our team right now, is knowing that, we have to be able to come up with a solution for these materials because it is a part of our daily lives and it's a very powerful part of it. And so that's been driving us just as a team as well.
Amazing. So in fact, perhaps the pandemic helped you to continue growing and evolving your business, hopefully to have greater competitive advantage when we're beyond the pandemic, which we certainly all hope we are moving steadily towards. Anna, I would love to hear from you a little bit about how the pandemic might have changed your thinking or a part of your business or a challenge that you faced.
So I started Zamia in the middle of the pandemic. So that was my reality. That was it. Like I couldn't do it differently. Like that was, I didn't have to change anything because I didn't have anything. So that was my reality. But I work with non-for-profits, and it's amazing how there's two things. The pandemic, in any crisis, I think, you can hold back or you can grow. And for NGOs, there was only two options. They were like, oh, rather we survive or we die. And for me to letting them know, no, like you can still grow, like you can still reimagine things of doing what you're doing. And I think that part of getting people to imagine a different way and to not just be hold back and saying, okay, we will get as little as possible. Like we will hibernate until the pandemic end. And they, at the beginning, we thought it was going to be 3 months, and we're still kind of living it. So for us, it was like, no, you cannot hibernate. You don't have the luxury to hibernate. You are changing the world. So giving that message to NGOs leaders and saying, hey, it's not about surviving, it's about thriving. It doesn't matter if COVID hits, how can we imagine a way forward? And sometimes it was hard, sometimes we did it, and sometimes we didn't. But just facing that, and of course, we say that the world faced the same things. We didn't. We were facing the same situation, but we were all in a very different position. So if you were in a country where you trust your government, you will be happy to have a vaccine. But if you weren't, if you just were in a country where there was lots of corruption, oh, that's another story. If you were able to stop working because your kids were not going to school, that's one story. But if you weren't, and then your kids were alone, so it's crisis make inequalities bigger. So just being aware of that and not assuming that everyone is in the same boat, that was an important lesson here.
The same storm, many different boats. And you've highlighted, there's just so many things that inspired me about what you just said there. I almost can't keep up. The inequality that it's exposed, the very distinct challenges that women have faced, and the need for resilience, and how that resilience has inspired in every corner of the world. You essentially have built your company based on resilience as part of its DNA because you launched during the pandemic. And I firmly believe that will serve you well and set you up for success and impact for generations to come. Just incredible stories. So we now truly have 3 or 4 minutes left. And I would love to hear from each of you about your greatest lesson learned in the time that you've been working in this critical sustainability goal that you are pursuing in your businesses and as individuals. That would be a wonderful takeaway for our audience as we bring today to a close. Lily, what's your greatest lesson learned?
Oh, it's so cheesy.
Oh no, there's no cheese here. No
cheesy. It's believe in yourself, and I really have always struggled to celebrate my own achievements, so it makes me just cringe that to say. And a few months ago, I said to my business mentor the words, "I am proud of what I've achieved," and she said, "Oh my God, write that down and stick it somewhere. I can't believe that's just come out of your mouth." But we got to shift that mindset and believe in our own ability. So I'm like kind of fake it till I make it, or fake it till I become it. And I'm going to keep saying I'm proud of myself, because that spreads, right? And then other people, you inspire other people. So yeah.
That's marvelous. And you know, we've come across so many women, the imposter syndrome you spoke of earlier, we all feel that. And there is not a woman that I have ever met who hasn't experienced it at many different times during her journey, no matter where she sits, if she's a CEO or working just to get off the ground as a new graduate. So thank you for sharing that with us. Confidence is absolutely critical. Nuha.
Yeah, I think what I would say is that, you know, some of the that you'll make are the ones that you had absolutely no idea and had to make. So I think a big part of just having a sustainability mindset is being really open to change and being really open to collaboration and understanding that there is no straight path to this, and that's okay. So really being being aware of that and being okay with that is going to really change just the trajectory of what your plans are for yourself, and being open to making those hard decisions even when you didn't know you had to make them.
So true. And I think you're bringing to bear, women leaders bring something very, very unique to business, to our world, to our society. That different perspective and the ability to pull together a panel like this where leaders such as you are bringing those perspectives to bear and inspiring others creates that catalytic effect of long-term change and action towards that impact that you seek. Thank you so much for sharing. Anna, you're going to bring us home with your greatest lesson learned.
Just touching into Lily's point of being proud of yourself, it's a Google initiative, and it's a workshop. It's a free workshop women can take everywhere, and it's called I Am Remarkable, and it touches on that. It touches us this bias that we've created of women not being able to say, hey, I'm proud of what I accomplished. Just touching into what Lily said. But I think if I have to say one lesson, I will say in Spanish there's this saying. It means something like perfection is enemy of good. So don't wait to be perfect. Like when you're starting a company, when you're starting any journey, you need to go for, like, you really need to just start and having these beta versions, right? You go, you measure. If you do it right, keep on going. If you do it wrong, come back, redo it again, and don't wait to have it perfect. Just try and learn by doing. And I think that's something I've done, and I fall many times. But I also have stand up many times. So that's learning, and that's something we should all do.
It's an amazing message to conclude with. I truly believe there are no failures. There are many opportunities to learn, and the only failure is if we don't apply the lessons learned and take the opportunity to share with others so that they can learn along with us. Thank you, Anna, Nuha, and Lily. To say that you were inspirational would be an understatement. I am privileged to have had the opportunity to join you today. Please take a moment to look through the chat and the incredible comments that have been flowing through. You have touched everyone here today, and you've left us with so much actionable insight we can put to work. To our friends at PARO and Spark Center, Roz, Sherry, and to the entire team, thank you for the opportunity to bring this forward. Invest Ottawa shares your goals, and we have many programs, services, and SheBoot is going national. So Roz, I saw your question about SheBoot. Unfortunately, Lily, for our friends in the UK, we're not there yet. Give us a little bit of time. But for those who join us from across Canada, we would love to share that insight and that with you. And we'll be launching hopefully on the 9th of May. We love collaborating. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you. And thank you for leading each and every one of you who are joining us today. I am going to hand back to our fearless leaders at Spark Center and PARO. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Sonya, thank you for leading such an inspiring panel and for drawing out the authenticity and the passion of these women. I wish we could have a 3-day event with just these women and yourself. You being a woman in tech and environment, and it's truly amazing. So thank you so much. I'm like chills and my cheerleader, and it's just like it's accessing everything right to my core. So I think we nailed it this morning with the sustainability panel, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you. I'm like, so take care. And it was amazing. Yeah, I just can't say enough. I would just encourage any of the other ladies, Anna, Nuha, and Lily, put your resources in chat. There's been a lot of questions for anybody that, if you want to encourage soulpreneurs. I know there's a lot of one-woman companies that need some encouragement and guidance as where to go next. And I think this is a great first step and the next step for anybody that is wanting to make resilience and passion and social, environmental, and economic, the 3 trifectas, the core of their business. That's my aim, and it's just left me with goosebumps.